Welcome to the Health Made Easy podcast. Health advice so easy, you'll feel more confident about your body, health, and life. And now, your host, Dr. Connie Jean.
Hi everybody. Today I just wanted to take the time to welcome the new members, and I've been reading on some of the feeds. Sometimes I just don't have enough time to respond to individual things, so we're going to start to create a post where we're going to have all the questions to be on that post so that I can be personally tagged for those of you who are seeking specific answers to your problems, especially if they're medically related. Sometimes you want to be very cautious about taking advice so that we can keep ourselves healthy. So I've got resources. If I don't know, I will surely go to my sources to find them out for you. But we're a very functional, medical-minded group here, everybody here. So hopefully you guys are here for that reason, to kind of find a better solution to dealing with lupus symptoms. So here's the thing, is medical system is flawed, and that's a big problem, especially for us lupus patients. But here's another issue, layer on top of that, is that today in this world that we live in, there's a lot of offenders kind of harming ourselves every day. And so the incidence of lupus patients or autoimmune patients is increasing. It's skyrocketing. And there's still those of you who's yet to be diagnosed. While all the systems are failing, you've got all these symptoms manifesting, still the doctors don't know because they're in this box of a protocol. So when you're in a box, school of thought, I know this because I went to medical school with a lot of medical school students in my day, and we're taught to think in a box, and everything within is that scope of practice. And so it really, while they are a smart crowd of medical students, they don't have a lot of leeway to think outside the box, right? So they've got medical protocols, and there are certain labs to be tested, and sometimes the research is a little murky. So depending on what kind of medicine you practice, it's hard to really nail down exactly what the cause is, especially when it comes to lupus. So here's my perspective. 19 years, as you guys know, I've been living with lupus, but also I've been studying the nuances and the laboratories, and then I've juxtaposed other disciplines. And I've asked a lot of questions, I've read a lot of books, I've gone through lots of trainings to understand. At the end of the day, it's a mystery. So there's a lot of pooling of different dysfunctions that overlap one another to create so many different dysfunctions. While we all sit here in this group with the diagnosis of lupus, we all know many of you have other conditions that are often overlapped, right? So some of you have Hashimoto's, some of you have MS, most of you have fibromyalgia, and even though you may not be diagnosed with fibromyalgia, we fit the bill because we've got all those trigger points to say we have fibromyalgia. And so it's just one of those things. After a while, you know that the ICD-9 codes, these are the diagnostic codes, so that the medical system can treat you within the bounds of the third-party payers, which is your insurance company. So it's no longer the doctors are heading your plan of care, and it's not that they want to forego the Hippocratic oath that they've kind of bought into in medical school. Oftentimes they get jaded and they get tired, and a lot of them are my colleagues and they're my loving friends, but they're beat down, they're tired, and they have to constantly be at the mercy of bureaucratic system. So it's really not the doctor's fault. I have compassion for them. They try to do well. They do what they do. They triage people to their best ability. And their toolbox is the medication. Now, that in itself is flawed. However, I do believe there is a place for the medical sciences. Those are the acute scenarios where we do have, like you guys know, I've been diagnosed with diverticulitis a few weeks ago. I had to be hospitalized. Had it not been for the medical system, it would have been an awful thing. But again, coming back to the antibiotic prescription, there were multiple disciplines of doctors involved there in my care. They overprescribed antibiotics. Had I not had trainings in such matters to look into that, to look out for myself, I would have probably been over prescribed, and that was okay, but that's not okay. That wouldn't have been okay because of the effects that it had. So I think it's a healthy balance for you to be asking questions all the time. Whatever the doctor says is not the Bible, and it's not so black and white. They are human beings too. They make mistakes, and their moms and their sisters, their daughters and fathers, the same as we are. But I think it's hard for them to treat patients like lupus patients because we have so many different layers of symptoms that, we need everybody under the sun of the umbrella of medicine, from cardiology to pulmonology to infectious disease to OB-GYNs to rheumatology and, internal medicine, immunology, you name it, nephrology. But the thing is, to have perspective in medicine and knowing their limits is key so that you can be empowered to then know what your role is. So if you're on a host of these medications, please know that it's in your right to have a dialogue with your doctor. Have an intelligent dialogue with your doctor to ask questions about what dosaging, one, and two, if that protocol needs to be adjusted constantly. And then three, to see if that's the best option for you. I've had to always fight to get off prednisone. That was the only medication that they wanted to put me on for a long time. And they feared, and I know it was their fear too of something happening to me. So it's really their concern because, my rheumatologist was my friend, my first friend when I was diagnosed. So I know his concern for me, and it was in with good intention. It just wasn't what I was looking for. And so I knew I had to do my part in strengthening my body. So you have to realize everybody's getting older. So we've got that strike. Everybody has that strike. Every day that goes by, we're getting older. Degeneration sets in, right? So I always tell my patients, being a physical therapist here in my clinic as well, I've seen patients go functionally decline over time. And what happens is they don't realize that every day that goes by, they decline, and it's a matter of how fast you want to go down. So there's a difference between health span and then there's a lifespan, right? So I talk about the difference is that do you want to live a long life being able to be functional, or do you want to live a long life in diapers and, dependent on other people to help you to do everything that you should be able to do? So that's the motivation for this Lupus Rebel group, so that we can be educated enough to ask the right questions and having the right mindset to then be empowered to do the right things so that you can now go and build your health or create that health so we can defy the degeneration. Because two strikes, right? We have an inflammatory disease. Aging is inflammation, right? And so if we have an inflammatory disease, we're getting older very fast and our cells are compromised. So it's in our best interest to build that health. The medication's not doing that for us. It's keeping things status quo. Symptoms checked, but it's not really building. Rather, it's really declining us because it's robbing our cellular biology and its metabolic ability. Medications are taking that over, weakening our overall system and our ability to fight the disease. So if you think you're okay with a host of those medications, all the power to you. But in my opinion, I've worked really hard, very hard to create my health. And I probably am a lot more functional than my healthy counterparts. And I know many of you who are out there are doing that as well, because I hear your stories about what you guys are doing. So these are all positives. I'm here to tell you it is possible. And I'm here to tell you I wasn't always this healthy. I'm here to tell you it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. The only way through is through. There's no overcoming. You have to be vigilant. You have to be focused. And you have to be disciplined. There has to be that kind of a will to make this change. But sometimes, if you would just trust me, the biggest problem is between your ears. It's whatever you think is going to make the difference. So every day we have a choice to make micro decisions into doing one or the other. And so I always tell my patients, you are not going to want to do it. Don't wait for motivation, because we both know lupus sucks the motivation out of us, right? And so the power is going to be in you recognizing that, to bypass that motivation, to just go ahead and do. And even if it's a small progress forward, you can still do, right? It's with that positive mindset, always switching from negative to positive. One of the books that I recently got by the author named Mel Robbins. She's a motivational speaker. She always talks about how she overcame these challenges, and she realizes that these micro decisions throughout the day that we make, and how she used the 5-second rule, where if you don't feel like you want to get up because you have nothing to get up to, and you just feel so crappy that you just want to hit the snooze button and let the day go by, and then you get overwhelmed because you don't feel so good, it's a perpetual cycle, right? It takes, like she says, to count down 5 seconds from 5 down to 1, not the other way around, because that kind of provides that infinite ability to count beyond 5. But if you count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and switch back, regardless of how you feel, to short circuit your brain or your emotions from making that decision, versus just taking the leap forward and kind of taking that action. Because the truth is, we all know what to do. It's just, it's just to get us to do it is the biggest challenge. And again, I think from my years of working with various different patients, behavior change is the hardest, because it's this we've got to change. It's the mindset, right? So I think for us lupus patients, that's the biggest thing. No matter how sick, how dire your health condition is, or how your life condition is, it just takes your decision to switch it from negative to positive. There's a fork in the road. Which way are you going to go? So I hope you take the positive route with us and continue to build this way. And again, I will be sharing a lot more and try to do a lot more organized discussions around what you need. So until next time, I hope this serves you well. Have a great weekend.
Thanks for listening to the Health Made Easy podcast. www.drconniejean.com